the channel. My name is Crawford. This is Virginia's for Lowriders, and today we are getting back on the Mazda project. But before we get onto the Mazda project, I wanted to say thank y'all because we hit 1,000 subs Monday night. Been a long time coming, but we finally crept over that 1,000 mark. So thank y'all. Hopefully we pick up some more guys and we keep on going up. But yeah, we're getting back on the Mazda. Last week we worked on the rear end a little bit. We worked on the gas tank. We worked on the header. We worked on the front of the engine. ADD 100% took the wheel last week. It's going to do that a little bit this week. I want to start 3D printing. Sorry, I'm getting a little off track. See it. ADD thing again. Before I start rambling for the next 3 minutes about what I'm going to do in this video, I just wanted to let y'all know that ADD happens and I changed my mind a little bit. I still do the things that I'm about to talk about in the video, but there's suspension related things that go on. I just neglected to say them in the beginning of the video. This is like 4 days later, so yeah, just listen to me ramble for a few minutes. After I'm done rambling, we're going to get into some suspension stuff. So, if you're new here, subscribe. If you've seen my old videos, you'll understand. I just get a little straight away sometimes. So, yeah. Enough rambling. Listen to old rambling. I want to start doing some stuff in the interior here and there. When I bought this truck, it had either RX-7 or Miata seats. I don't know what they came out of. It had a billet steering wheel with flames on it, and there wasn't flames on anything else. It had terribly done tweed door panels. The interior was a mess, but I got an interior out of a parts truck. This seat was 100% covered in coffee, covered in transmission fluid, engine oil. It had a cylinder head on top of it, a radiator on top of it. It was disgusting. Same thing with the carpet. Absolutely disgusting. These door cards came out of the other truck. Even though they're messed up, I'm still cool with this over what was in there before. I took 3 different gauge clusters to make one good working functioning cluster. Bought a wheel, changed a whole bunch of dash pieces because everything was really badly spray painted silver. It was bad. But the reason that I want to start the video now, which is Tuesday, I'm going to take some of this stuff apart and bring it inside and measure it out so I can start 3D printing pieces for it. So the carpet came out of a 4-wheel drive Mazda. This, of course, is a 2-wheel drive Mazda. So the hole in the carpet is big. Underneath this, the carpet is cut out that big. This boot is the 2-wheel drive Mazda stuff, which I had to get from a junkyard because I didn't have one of those either. So there's this really big gap. I'm not ready to buy carpet yet, so we're just going to fill this gap with a 3D printed piece. I'm going to see if I can print something to maybe support the center of the boot out to this edge. So I'm going to take this off, take this guy off, and bring all that stuff in the house and have that printing, and hopefully have at least printed like a mock-up one, hopefully the final one. But 3D printing doesn't always work out that way. Sometimes there's adjustments that need to be made. I might print it thin, just like a shell of it to start with, and then go from there. Today, I was lucky enough to find a guy on Marketplace that had all of these welding, well, this is a welding fixture, a purge block for turbo manifolds, and a bunch of cutting jigs for cutting exhaust tubing. So once the rest of the pieces throw up for this, it'll be a lot easier trimming the tubing to fit with these guys. Hopefully these dudes make everything cutting stainless steel wise much easier, because If you've ever cut stainless steel, I mean really exhaust tubing in general, with tight enough clearances to fit when TIG welding with a bandsaw or a chop saw or anything, it's kind of sketchy in the bandsaw. Like, that bandsaw just grabs stuff and pulls it out of your hand. With those things, hopefully it can just send it through, and yeah, they'll be helpful tools. I gotta learn how to use them. But that's what most of everything in the garage is about, is basically pushing myself to learn new things constantly and make better product. So while we're figuring out the 3D printing stuff for the interior, which I'll hopefully get, it's kind of late, it's like 9:30 now. While that's printing, we're gonna get onto the rear, I think. We're gonna start there. I think I'm gonna pull the rear end back out and come up with a brace to go on the bottom side. Come up with some plates to go underneath these guys, plates to go on the back side of the lower tabs, just to try to make all of that strong to where it's not going to go anywhere. So I think that's what we're going to start with, and we're just going to let the ADD do its thing again and see where it goes. So thanks again for y'all subscribing. It's awesome. We're actually making traction now. And if you're new here, please subscribe and go back and check out all the old videos. But let's get into it. So, if you watched my previous video, this is the rear end. I showed how to make these tabs from scratch because I bought the wrong sizes and I didn't want to wait for new ones. I tried to be lazy about it and purchase some. It didn't work out. I did buy these, but they're kind of flimsy. So the idea of today is I came up with this shape for here, this shape for here, and a little thing to tie in the upper mount that we made last week. I was going back and forth. I've been thinking about it all day. Initially, my idea for this, which I'm just adding way too much weight for this little 70 horsepower truck to handle pulling around, because we went from 4 anorexic looking reverse 4-link bars and a little bit going on to a whole lot more tubing and a whole lot heavier duty tubing. The old bars would literally fit inside of the new bars. I added a lot of weight. I gotta calm down on weight adding. I know that we're adding some today, but it's probably 20 pounds versus what this potentially was going to be. Initially, I was going to cut this, like notch this out and brace it as if it was like some trophy truck type stuff. But I talked myself out of it. I'm just going to wrap these, put this bar in between this guy and this guy. That way I have something to mount my shocks off of. That's why we're not doing the shocks yet, because I wanted to get something to mount them onto first. And I'm rambling on and on and on, and y'all are probably getting tired of it. So we're just going to start cutting some stuff out of steel. We're going to get the dimple dies out of the storage box that they're collecting rust in and start making some stuff today. So yeah, that's the plan. Sorry for like the last 8 minutes of rambling, probably. I don't know how long it's been, but I feel like I've talked to this box a lot for this video, and we haven't gotten anywhere, so yeah. I got all the pieces transferred over to the bandsaw just for the bag mounts and stuff, and then when we do the top side, I'll flip it over and cut the rest. Alright, you're gonna have to bear with me a little bit here. I don't have power in my sea container, but my press doesn't make a sea container because my garage isn't big enough to put the press inside of it. Well, it would fit. It would just be a pain in the butt. So we're gonna work with a flashlight. Hopefully y'all can see what I'm doing. So we're gonna do the little guy first. Trying to get it as centered as possible. So as you can see, one of the downsides to this is it deforms it if the press isn't strong enough to go all the way through with the press. So I'll never find that again. So there's nothing underneath of it except for the thing holding it in place. I'm just taking the dimple die, laying it back where it was creating the dimple, and just pressing it back down, and it'll flatten out that thing. It'll flatten out the piece of metal without deforming it anymore. There you go. It's got a little bit of a curve to it. Nothing crazy. Don't look too bad. Not going for super complex here. We're just trying to utilize a couple tools that I got that I never use. Well, apparently this wasn't a super deep dimple because of the hole saw choice that I made. I probably could have went down to the next smallest one, but I think it'll look all right. I gotta be on there. This guy be on there. They'll match. They'll be strong. Probably way stronger than they need to be. So it's like 9:30 at night. So I'm gonna go inside and pass out, and I'll get back out here tomorrow. I got me a white trash coffee to start the night off. It's like 7 something. I was procrastinating on coming out here, but I finally got off the couch magnet, so we're in full force. Let's see what we can get done. I left off last night with these guys. I got thinking about this at work. These are kind of boring. There's curves and shapes and stuff all over this thing, so kind of thinking something along those lines. And on this guy, something along this line. I think it'll look, well, no, it'd be the other way. Look a little nicer. So I'm gonna try and figure out the easiest way to cut these, knock these out, and get these things welded on so we can ADD our way onto something else. Not really sure what. I didn't have a plan today. Just get these welded on was the plan. It's gonna take longer to figure out how to cut that radius smooth and to cut them and grind them than it is to weld them on. So we'll stop rambling and do that. So this is the closest thing I could find to the radius that looked halfway decent. Just a piece of 6-inch DA sandpaper. I just cut down and I'll just duplicate it over and over and over. didn't take nearly as long as I thought. If you can afford it, I have like this entire setup was like 200 and something bucks. That Harbor Freight stand, the Harbor Freight bandsaw with some good blades can do so much. That's a little pricey, not necessarily highly recommended, but it does rip through some stuff super quick. I don't know how I went so many years without owning one. I was like, nah, I don't need that, I don't need that. And now that I bought it, that's like, I use it for everything. I don't even cut stuff with a grinder at all anymore. And I have a torch, which is my favorite tool in the world. And I have a crappy plasma cutter. The lack of cleanup that comes along with the bandsaw is crazy. Again, I don't care about the brand. That thing works fine. That's a Bauer Harbor Freight with the Harbor Freight stand that actually does multiple things, but we're getting off track here. That's both of them. Both of these guys. And now look a little bit more flowy, matching, similar. That guy there, I think that'll work out pretty good. I do need to take a little off the edges of these because they're just as wide as the bracket. I'm trying to go just the inside so the weld's not super proud. So I'm gonna grind that down a little bit and weld these dudes on. Alright, we are all welded up. Not looking too bad. So now, I'm going to take that bar, cut it to length here. So my thought on this, if I get that lined up in the right spot, about just off center of that bag mount, basically. So where these two are in line, I was thinking if I end up running the exhaust up over the rear end and through here, come around this bag and out of somewhere in the body back here, I think if I ran that bar and that bar down here, I could probably run the shocks at an angle somewhere in this range, something like that. I don't know. That's the idea. That's what we're gonna go with. So I'm gonna get that bar cut real quick, and then after that's welded, then I gotta figure out something else to do. I don't feel like grinding. I don't feel like making the frame pretty yet. I think I'm gonna save all of that for one extremely boring day of just grinding and grinding and grinding. Cause that's up there with sanding. Sanding and grinding are not my favorite things. That's why I try to get things looking pretty decent as far as welds go. That way I can just leave it alone. I'd rather spend some time to try to make my welds look better than spending any time grinding. It happens sometimes. I mean, most of the time I come out here, it's like late at night and I've just worked all day, so sometimes you get a sleepy weld and it don't turn out perfect. So yeah, let's cut that bar and get that welded. Oh, this is kind of what I'm thinking. I might be doing too much. That tubing's pretty thick for just holding a couple shocks in place and holding this thing from doing side to side. So I'm gonna burn that in real quick. And I found this outside in my massive pile of hoarding. This is a mount for a seat for like a John boat that one of my friends, I believe, left it in my yard whenever their John boat sat here for like 2 years. I checked it with a magnet, and it is most definitely stainless steel. It has sat in my backyard for years and hasn't rusted, so I'm assuming it's a pretty good grade of stainless steel. So this, I will show y'all. So this guy will be turned into some of these. I don't know why this thing won't focus on my phone, but small exhaust mounts. I've been a fan of this style. I've never ran them before, but I also can't bring myself to spend $20 a piece on them when I think I can squeeze them out of this guy. I figure I'll probably do maybe 3 mounts back here, and it'll be pretty stiff and rigid. I'll do one traditional mount underneath the cab and the flex pipe. My idea is this is all going to be rigid. The engine is going to move, so it'll be the flex pipe directly after the header. And then, since it'll be directly after the header, there'll be a little bit of movement in there. So I'll put a traditional style mount up there, and hopefully it works. I don't know. We'll see, but I think I can repurpose this rather than going out and buying something. So maybe we'll make some of these today too, or at least this weekend. It's like 10:30 already. Well, it is the next day, and it's not the morning of the next day. Not even close. It's like 5 something, but we're in the garage. I left off last night getting the dimple dyed stuff on the rear end welded up, and talked about this guy, which would be in this general area. Transferred these over to this little piece of scrap metal. I save a lot of little pieces of scrap metal, like all of these cutoffs, because you never know. Like, well, this one's kind of big, but the small stuff, they're probably going to be gussets. So I save most of these random cutoffs to make them to where this will eventually be a gusset for something. It makes sense to throw them away. Just get a 5-gallon bucket, stack them up, and most likely you'll be able to use it again later. There's a lot of them. I have buckets and buckets of them. But I'm gonna go ahead and get these cut, get these tack welded on. So I'm gonna tack weld them basically, actually go over here. Tack weld them here and here, and then try to make a filler piece to go in between the two. So we'll do that, and then we'll ADD our way on to something else, because I don't know. I feel like we're making pretty decent progress since I started the week kind of early. Definitely need to get in there and do the 3D printing thing that I talked about doing, because I messed with it for an hour and a half or so the other night, and I haven't gotten back on that. So I'm going to stop rambling and get something done. Alright, I got the 4 of these guys cut out. These will sit just like that. Not totally sure if I want to weld these on and then box in the middle. Maybe just leave them like that. I don't know. Get these tack welded on and then make up my mind, I guess. Not too shabby. Welded the insides. Oh, so now going to, I think I talked myself into just capping it because it looks unfinished. Make some templates real quick. Try to form these a little bit before I put them in. I'll get them close, weld the end, and then probably just beat it into where it needs to be. So we're getting close. Getting close to being done with the rear end. Everything's looking pretty decent. Happy with the outcome so far. And then we're going to put it back in today. So I got the bend started. Didn't bend it all the way. But I'll get the bottom tack welded in and then bend it the rest of the way in place with a hammer. I think it'll fit pretty good. I don't think that 70 horsepower has a chance of breaking this. I think it's pretty strong now. I'm undecided. Maybe y'all can give me a yes or no in the comments if I should tie this in to match the little bars that I put up there. I really don't think it's necessary as far as strength goes. I understand there's a lot of energy transferred through shocks, but I don't know. Maybe just a little guy here, maybe something through here. I'm undecided. I was hoping the exhaust parts would have showed up sooner. I could have just knocked that out today. Debating on making maybe the tailpipe tomorrow. Get a little bit more fabrication than the weekend. But I'm not sure. I think since my microphone's about to die, I'm going to take that as a sign as I should probably go inside soon. I think I'm going to push the rear end underneath the truck, see if I can get it bolted up real quick. Go inside and pick this back up in the morning. Didn't really get a whole lot done today. It's more decision making than actual work, which happens a lot. So I try to make all the decisions during the week, but I kind of just wing it. If you haven't noticed, I'm a big winging it person. So before the GoPro dies, we're gonna push this under there, see how far we can get. And I'm gonna attempt, really attempt to get the thing at least started on the 3D printing, because I already said I was gonna do that. Yeah, we're back to rambling. Let's finish this up for tonight. Sunday morning, we are back out in the garage trying to get something done. I'm not gonna probably pull a full day today, that way y'all can actually watch this on Sunday instead of like Monday night. So got the rear end in last night, got the two bars nice and lined up. We have plenty of clearance between the gussets. The jack picks the rear up kind of crooked because of the drain, so that's not touching yet. So matching gaps on both sides is what I'm trying to get at here. I know that there's no way that my shock could be this short, but my idea behind all of this, a shock going from this guy down to the rear somewhere would be at a pretty steep angle. This puts the shock in a pretty decent angle. I'm just gonna have to build shock tabs off the bottom of this and maybe something to raise it up just a little bit to get the length that I need. So I need to go through my bin of tabs to see if I have any shock mounts laying around so I can build all of that. And again, I'm thinking at an angle, something like this. I don't know. We're just winging it. This was my idea on the exhaust. So I have this 90 that would go in there something about like that. And I'm thinking it can come out and go around the bag. And I can just build a little heat shield off this bar to avoid the heat on the bag. I could just do it straight here, but I have to take in consideration this guy, and this guy comes down to about here when the truck is up in the air. So I have to kick it off at a little bit of an angle, which is fine because there's tons of room through here. So I'm thinking today we're gonna see if we can whip up some of these tabs. I did find the little blue bushing things that go in the ones that you can purchase, but the ones you can purchase, like I said earlier, are about $20 a piece, or $15 to $20 a piece. I found the little blue things for $5 or $25, so I can make basically 5 tabs with this scrap piece of metal. It was also stainless steel for 25 bucks instead of 1 or 2 for 25 bucks. So I think that's what we're going to try to do today. See if we can cut that into a relative shape to fit a piece of exhaust. Maybe start mocking this up. I have the thing 3D printing the mock-up, which I've printed it like 50 times now, and it ended up being a setting that I had wrong on the printer that was throwing me off. So maybe I'll get something to show y'all. The mock-up thing that I'm starting says it'll take about 4 hours. Maybe that's about when I'll stop working today. So let's stop rambling and try to get something done so y'all can watch this on Sunday instead of Monday night. Alright. They fit the 2-inch stuff pretty good. I got 4 of them. Like I said, I'm going to wait until the little blue things show up so that way I know what size to make that hole. I utilized the holes that were already drilled in this thing just to make it easier on myself. I thought I was recording me cutting this, but apparently not. So there's those. They look pretty good. So let's find something else to do. So I think we might finish up today with starting to mock up the exhaust. I'm not sure if we're going to get anything like welded in place, but we can get a general idea of exactly how it's going to be, because that piece should be here Monday, meaning I can actually probably build the whole exhaust on next week's video. So maybe if we can just get some stuff set in place, we can tape it together. We can take our little tabs we just made, figure out where they're gonna go. I need to basically make the opposite sides of these in regular steel so I can weld them to the frame. But yeah, maybe we'll get some sort of instant gratification with some tape and some barely held in place stuff. Just thinking that guy maybe with one of these shortened up a little bit to about there. Just gotta find the right angle for that. And then the 45s I just got in the mail. size will be something about like that. Really thinking, I don't know if I want to come out of the back of the truck or out of the fender well of the truck. Maybe we'll walk out to the bed real quick and get an idea. I went in there to check on the 3D print, and to give you all an idea, it prints off one of these little slivers before it starts printing every time, and there is a ton of those little slivers. So I didn't realize I didn't have a setting right, and I had the brim on, and what I was looking at was the brim and not the actual diameter of the piece, because I'm stupid and I wasn't paying attention to the settings. And there's a couple failures, and then this is the most recent one that I was talking about in the beginning of the video. I went in there to check on it, and I didn't have the heat bed hot enough, and it lifted. It's awesome. So it's reprinting right now, but of course this isn't going to be in white. I'm just printing it because that was what was in the printer. This gets me a really good idea of size of what it's going to be. As you can see here, I'm going to have to adjust it a little bit. Not crazy though. So at first I was trying to match this taper 100%. It didn't really make any sense because if I match this taper, the shift boot itself is square. So I filled this area to where it sits in the little factory holders, and I can actually go in and make some little clamps up to tie all this in. But I fit this to the size of the actual shift boot. So the shift boot will basically, I don't know if it'll just rest on this, but if this had printed correctly, it's supposed to print this shape and then come up and in a little bit. So this is just the base, but this is pretty good so far. And on the final design, if I decided to, I can change this a little bit up to fit these edges a little bit. This thing is, it's tapered a good bit, but sorry I'm not going to have any finished results for y'all to see, but I don't know. If you're interested in 3D printing stuff, at least y'all have something to look forward to on the next episode. But yeah, not too bad so far. A little bit of tweaking and it'll be good to go. And this go around, instead of me walking in and out of the room 100 times, I set up one of my cameras in front of the printer so where I can just check it on my phone instead of going in there, and you can actually see the edges there of the print. So, well, I'm not sure if the GoPro picks it up that well, but got that crazy glare on there. But yeah, you get the idea. We're working on it. So this would be the bed actually laying on the ground. I do have a little bit of rust here, so I don't feel bad about cutting that if I have to. But I think an actual little tailpipe hanging out of the back of the truck would look pretty cool. I don't know. It would be something about like that. I think I'll have y'all help me make decisions on how I want to do this. Maybe if y'all can let me know. I don't know. I think an actual tailpipe would look cool. I think trying to keep the truck appearing as stock as possible, but on the ground, would be the coolest thing to do, because everybody shaves everything and never keeps anything. I think which I've always done it with basically everything I have, appearing as stock as possible, but on the ground. Like, these look like an exaggerated version of a factory four-wheel drive wheel. I actually bought some steel ones to possibly use also when the truck's done, I want to keep the flares, I want to keep the badges, I want to keep, which I'll probably redo these with my resin printer to say something different, but I want to keep the graphics, everything completely stock, completely 80s looking, but just body dropped on the ground. So maybe let me know. Let's maybe mess with this exhaust a little bit and then wrap it up for the day so I can go in and get this thing done. All right, my creativity with the tape didn't really work out. It looks terrible, but it gives me an idea. So it's just holding them together in place, but you get the idea. This will just come to the cab and then the opposite side. This of course will be over here, tighter on the bag. Yeah, I don't know. They didn't work out as well as I thought it would, but I think that about wraps it up for this week. I think this being all over my garage and stuff, it's kind of messing with me. Like I need to get that done and out of the way because I keep walking over top of all of it and it's everywhere. So I'm going to pick this up. Hopefully I can start this right away tomorrow if the piece actually shows up. That way I can knock that video out pretty quick for y'all. I mean, again, I'm still learning how to weld stainless steel. I don't see it taking a super long time. I am going to try to get to the welding shop. I'm not sure what time this week, but I'm going to try my best to get to the welding shop so I can purge this stuff because I don't really want to purge with the tank that's on the welder. I'd like to do it a separate thing. That way I don't have to mess with that 2 regulators on 1 tank type deal. I'd like to do it separately, so I'm going to try to get my best to get my other tanks filled because I have like 6 tanks that need to be filled. I'm going to try my best to piece together the rest of the back purging stuff, and hopefully the parts show up and we can knock some stuff out next week. But thanks again for all the subscribers. It's awesome that we finally hit that 1,000 mark, and hopefully if you're new here, you subscribe. Check out the older videos for this complete build. We're doing everything, beginning to end, hopefully. Painting everything. As much as I hate sanding. But thanks, guys.